Thanks for watching and listening to the When Love Leads podcast. You'll be hearing today from some of our special guests as they share with you stories of faith at work. You can help more people find out about the podcast by liking us on social media pages like Facebook and LinkedIn. Now, join us as we explore people of faith at work. Welcome to another episode of the When Love Leads podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Marsh, along with Rick Hasty. We've got a great guest in Diondre Lewis today. Rick, if you would, introduce us.
Very exciting that Diondre Lewis has joined us today, a recent made friend in the Charlotte area through a Christian guild that we both frequent to talk about how to see and proclaim Christ in the workplace. And I'm just amazed at what Diondre and his team are doing, something brand new. So Diondre, just tell us a little bit about yourself and then jump right in. I'll let you introduce your company and maybe I should say your companies, since you're not a lone ranger with that, but you've got some exciting stories to tell.
Yeah, so Diondre Lewis, I military kid, born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, bounced all over the place, and I landed Duke for college. I went to Duke, and I graduated from there and got into really dive deep into technology. I started out pre-med, switched over to tech. I got exposed to this whole world of developing and building and deploying these really highly scalable e-commerce solutions through IBM. So my first job out of school, my first real job out of school was at IBM. That kind of set the stage for a lot of, I think, amazing things, and just kind of realizations throughout my whole pathway. I would say the first thing I got into was coming out of school was just the overall software development and delivery space. I had no idea about it. I just thought you could just write code and you're just making cool programs, but I had no idea about how businesses were consuming technology, right? I quickly got pulled out into all kinds of other opportunities, consulting opportunities. From there, I started to just consult, place other consultants, build a consulting company, which we still run right now. I quickly learned over time that everywhere I went, there was a shortage of resource, and there was no shortage of people that were trying to gain more resources for themselves. They just needed a knowledge path and mentorship path. So I created a nonprofit information technology development program, and we pretty much funded it ourselves and started to train people and give them tech training for free. We had the answer on one side, which was the actual customer, and the customer knows what they want. So we just do training programs that match with, whatever the trends are showing in terms of technology and give people the free path. Just give it to them. So we're continuously giving. It's all started with giving, right? So we're giving people the pathway into a better life through technology, free, completely free. We're just going to give you the roadmap. You don't have to pay any money. You don't have to show up in a classroom. So we did that for quite some time. We're still running that now and help probably 30, 40,000 people get jobs through the program, non-technical people transitioning in.
Wow.
And what happened was that evolved. That whole thing right there was really the impetus for many of the other things that have happened, including Wave Rideshare, which is primarily what we're talking about now, right?
Yeah.
I'm the CEO and CTO of that. The way that we started was we were delivering technology training, and we did it on site. We had a partner with our church. We did it on site for the first time, and the biggest problem was reliable transportation. Kids could simply not get to their $10,000 free tech training. If it's a single parent household, mom can't get the kid to the location. The car is broken down. There's excessive traffic, multiple accidents on Independence, just all kinds of problems. Long and short of it is the kid ends up getting the short end of the stick. They just don't make it to training.
Yeah.
So we started to solve for that with a safer, more reliable platform for people just to move their kids around. And that's how Wave started.
Well, that's a pretty amazing story. You enthralled me the first time we talked with how you were teaching unprepared people to be prepared for the technology world. And the result of that was getting real jobs. I thought that was exciting. And then to hear what you're doing around rideshare, tell us a little bit more about that business model, Diondre.
Sure. We're tapping into things that touch humanity, right? Powerful, things that are powerful and things that are, just game changers. One, everyone needs access to information and education. when you have these things, you have the opportunity to move about the world however you need to or however you want to, right? Two, people physically need to be moved around. Every human being has, and they must be, at some point in time, they must be transported somewhere. Right. And depending upon the population, right, the trust layer within that transportation event increases. So for guys like us, getting in an Uber, no problem. No big deal.
Right.
Get across town, cheap ride. But for our wives, our daughters, our kids, our elderly parents, it's a sketchy situation. Potentially, it's a crapshoot at best.
Right.
Crapshoot at best. And that's what people don't get initially. So those platforms are, although they're doing well, they are built mainly for the standard, kind of B2C scenario where folks just want to get a cheap ride across town. They're not centered around safety. They're not centered around quality. They're not centered around delivering a consistent layer of trust for those populations that need it most. And those populations sum up to something that is 8 to 10 times bigger than the market that Uber is or Lyft are actively addressing. Yeah. So in service, God has moved us. We started in service. So we are getting moved into larger and larger spheres of opportunity that address the same problems just at a larger scale. So as part of the business model, we started out focusing on mainly vulnerable populations and delivering a safer rideshare alternative, safer transport alternative. Will the parents actually trust the driver? I have 3 kids. So what would I need to see in order for me to trust that driver with my kids taking them across? Let's start building these things in. Many of us have kids. Many of us have vulnerable folks in our, vulnerable populations represented in our families. And that's how we built the platform from the ground up. So the business model started to evolve. So we went from kids to elderly, to their parents. Lots of women started to hop on board. Many women have horror stories of dealing with the other platforms where the driver was just a little weird. They tracked them down to their house, came back to their house, just all kinds of crazy stuff that we've never seen. Nobody's really trying to hit on us in a vehicle. So we just don't, we don't get it. And it's interesting when we started this, a lot of my buddies were like, well, why would I use this? Maybe you won't. Just take the Uber. We're building this for vulnerable populations. And meanwhile, you've got girls jumping out of their Lyft ride. They're trying to get to school. Teenage girls are jumping out of their Lyft ride while the car is going 30 miles an hour because the driver is weird. That is more of the story than anything else. So the model has evolved. So we started out vulnerable populations. We continue to expand that sphere. We excel where there's a trust, where there's added trust needed, or consistent service needed, or consistent pricing needed. Yeah. These are 3 things that the other platforms cannot ever deliver consistently.
Well, that is incredibly exciting. That, of course, is your business journey. Tell us a little bit about your faith journey.
It's been a faith walk all the way through, honestly, because all of the things, now, I grew up in a Baptist household, and obviously the faith was there all the way through. I went to Duke. Duke is largely a research science school, so parents were like, oh, well, don't come back agnostic and thinking that God's not real. It's crazy because I started out pre-med, and what the studies did was they strengthened my faith. The environment at Duke is very, very aggressive as it relates to academia. You've got these world-renowned researchers teaching your classes and stuff like that, and they challenge you to challenge the instructors. I'm taking chemistry, organic chemistry, physical chemistry, microbiology, And the one thing that I saw over and over is that there were massive, massive gaps in explanation. Huge jumps. Like in terms of just explaining, for instance, how DNA is replicated. We've got these steps that are kind of, we're studying for exams, but there are many, many massive quantum leaps they are making from step A to B. There is no viable explanation for how we get from one to the next. Yeah, as human beings, we do have an understanding of the things that are going on, but we still have no clue about how these things are actually getting done. And I started to recognize that in my first year at Duke when I was in just basic chem and then moving into some other stuff. I pretty much finished the chemistry major there. And by the time I was like a junior there, it was like, you know what? This stuff is hogwash. I mean, it's cool. It's good. It's cool to know in preparation for being a doctor. But every time there's one of these big old gaps, the scientific community has a way of just skating over it. But that's where God is. He is in this. Like this is his system. And
Yeah.
we're trying to explain something that we have no idea. Like, we don't even have the ability, the capacity to explain what's going on here. So we will marginalize it as intellectuals and just step over it. So this
Right.
kept happening over and over and over and over again. And I was like, holy cow, my faith got stronger coming out of all this
Right.
research. God is all in this stuff. I don't think we'll ever know the answers to many of these things. I'm still going to get A's on my exams because I'm going to do what the professors told me to do, but I don't have to agree. So that's where it came from. And then moving into the transition from bio to technology. I was pre-med. Full-blown pre-med, going to be a neurosurgeon. So every single year, I went to high school in Hawaii. So the plane ticket was just super expensive. I've stayed at Duke every summer, right? I'm not going back to Hawaii. My sophomore year, junior year, I'm injecting rats with, progesterone. I'm getting published. So I'm on that path. And during the summer, a lot of my buddies that were here during the summer were interns or engineering interns. So I'm over here injecting mice and, doing all this cool stuff all day, but I'm making like $6 an hour. My engineering buddies are like working at IBM and they're working like 8 hours. They're working like 12 hours a week. And they're making like $40 an hour. And so we're going out and I'm just broke. I'm like broke all the time. And they're like, dude, man, you just need to stop this medicine stuff. And you just need to come over to tech. So I'm getting pulled into tech by my engineering buddies. I'm about to sign up, start doing my MCATs and go off on the med path. But I got pulled away, man. It's God working through folks to just pull me in what's been purpose for my life. And he kept tugging. I'm like, no, man, I'm solid in what I'm doing here. I'm going to stick with pre-med. And then one day, one of my buddies was like, look, man, you got to do this stuff. This is technology. This is where it is. You got to consider getting out of this. So I went to the med center. And I talked to a bunch of these doctors, one of the best medical centers in the world. And the doctors confirmed. They were like, if I had to do it all again, I would not do this. Look at the state of medicine now. They were fully aware of what was coming down the pipeline. And they said, I'm not going to slight the profession, but, run for the hills if you can, because this stuff is getting out of control. I said, say no more. Boom. I switched to the comp sci major. I asked one of my buddies for his manager's info at IBM, and I blew the guy up for 6 months. I was starting as Computer Science 1 as a senior at Duke. Computer Science 1. I knew nothing. So that's when the hustle kicked in. I'm like, you know what? I got to get into IBM where these guys are, because they're telling me that's where I need to go. So I literally got one of the manager's emails, and I spammed him every single day, telling him what I was learning. It's Computer Science 1. The guy never responded. For 7 months, never responded, right? Summertime rolls around. I'm trying to get an internship. I only have Computer Science 1. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sending this manager my notes. I'm asking questions. They never responded. I literally spammed IBM for 7 months. And then summertime's rolling around. I'm about to just, I don't know what I'm doing, because I stopped injecting mice. I did my routine call, and then somebody picked up the phone. Finally, after 7 months, he was like, I know who you are. I don't know what you look like, but you're in. He was like, he's like, look, you've been blowing me up for 7 months. You're in. Don't email me anymore. So I'm like, oh, great. So boom, showed up. And that was the beginning of history, I think, honestly, because once I had a foot in the door at IBM, it was over. And then from there, I just started, God was just opening these doors. And obviously he just gave me the desire to go after stuff well beyond my own knowledge. And he's just been there all the way through this thing. I mean, at every layer, he's been there just pulling me through and giving me insight.
So your story is fascinating. So you're with IBM for a season, and then that season is over and you begin this training effort. Is that right? And what was the training initiative called?
The Information Technology Development Program.
Okay.
Yep. Started
and that really had a focus on people who had ability or capacity, I should say, to pick up those skills, but just needed somebody to teach them.
That's exactly right. So I just created a platform where people can learn for free, not even for $1. If you stay, great. If you don't stay, that's great. And in giving that away, it got viral. It caught some virality, I bet you call it, whatever. Folks tell other folks about it. And we've been running it for quite some time now. It's just free technology training. We shift the narrative of the training all the time. It's crazy because you get these groups of people, kind of do little cohorts, large cohorts, and we self-funded all of it. We did get some CARES Act dollars around COVID, but a vast majority of the work has been self-funded by us. We just give it back. What happens is, in every group, you have these people that come out of nowhere and they're phenomenal. We have no idea where these people come from. It's like God is giving us these resources right back. The light bulb went off really quickly. The best ones we hire every time these leaders emerge. They're plumbers, they're salespeople, they're cars salesmen. We don't know who. They just hop in and dominate. There's no way to find these people. There is no way to screen for these people because they don't have the core skill set. It's an archetype. It's like there's no way. So a lot of the movers and shakers, even at Wave, came out of that program from like just some of the big guys from an engineering standpoint. Some of the big guys, I mean, it's pretty amazing how this stuff is happening. God just gives us back the resource, and multiplies it every single time. We started, and then He gave us Wave. Like, again, we're always thinking about giving. Like, how do you produce something that makes this world better, help people do the things they need to do better? How do you do this? So we centered around those things. And that's really how a lot of this stuff evolved. We're not changing our purpose. The scope has expanded a little bit, but the core elements remain the same. It's like, you got to take care of people. You got to be compassionate. You got to, be a partner, not just a siphon. So on the delivery side and on the rideshare side, these other platforms are just siphons. They're siphoning money from the rider. They're siphoning money from the driver. And they're not telling them about how much money they should actually be making. They got them running around like wild animals, pulling people off of the platform and trying to do cash deals and just very unsafe stuff. It's time for a change. It's time for something different. It is time for a new wave of compassion, of safety, of accountability, and integrity in this space that touches everybody. So now you combine educational enhancement, economic mobility, which is powerful, plus just this reliable, safe transportation partner. Think about the groups that need these types of transportation services. School systems, they are struggling across the world. There's no microtransit partner that they trust. They will never touch an Uber or Lyft because these guys are too unsafe, right? That there are massive, massive global needs for these value-added partners that can deliver with high integrity and trust and safety. Massive, right? And these entities, they don't show up on the market reports because they're just out of the market. They're not spending. Hospital systems are dying to extend a full-blown transportation layer to these LMI communities just to get them to and from their doctor's appointments. They won't put them in Ubers or Lyfts because you can't guarantee that the Uber or Lyft or other platform, I don't even know if I should be mentioning those guys, but oh well. They don't guarantee that they will even help them into the car. Shoot, dialysis patient. They don't even know if the Uber driver is going to wait. So look, the bottom line is they are not designed to do that. That's perhaps not their responsibility. They were not built to do those things, and they don't have to do those things, right? But they've created a monster as it relates to demand, and that monster does not fare well, particularly with those vulnerable populations and corporations in the B2B space.
Diondre, you've described two different businesses so far. I suspect there are probably more, but between the technology training and also with the Wave Ride, I'd like to peel that back just behind that. The common thing is you and the energy you bring. What is Diondre's why? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Well, I think my why is really it's to spread the love of the Father through the things that I'm passionate about, right? Now, it's not me banging and beating people over the head with the word and stuff, right? But there are actions. There are very specific actions that you can take in terms of how the way that you do things to impact the lives of others. So I believe that everyone has, a passion. Everyone has a certain level of expertise, and the beautiful thing about all this stuff is it's in a bunch of different areas. There's so many different areas where you can actually help someone else. Like, you don't have to step too far outside of your own comfort zone to help someone. You're probably an expert in something. You can find a way to give that thing away to someone. You don't have to be the soup kitchen guy. You won't find me in a soup kitchen. If I'm in a soup kitchen, I might probably be eating more soup than serving it because I'm an eater. I like to eat. But you will find me laboring, trying to help people learn how to code, trying to help people get into jobs, trying to find ways to make these platforms more safe so that it's not even just an economic resource thing. The problems that we are addressing they're almost income agnostic. So think about the core scenario of kid transport. It does not matter how much money you have. It's always a challenge. If you have multiple kids that are very active, that transportation situation, especially maybe 2 working parents, it is a nightmare. It is a nightmare everywhere in the world. It's never going to change. Why? Because there's no real viable, reliable partner that can deliver safety, integrity, and accountability for the kids at scale. There's nobody. So it is a wild mess, right? So can we build a platform? Can we build a system that can help solve for those problems and just make people's lives better, help de-stress them, open their time up for more, or, other more productive opportunities? I mean, look, that's what it's about. It's taking what you're passionate about. I believe you're taking what you're passionate about, find a way to give it away. Find a way to give it away. I'm a Christian, so I believe this is how I am showing up and spreading the love of God and the compassion, the care and concern, even for customers, just doing the best, and then drivers and riders, just doing the best we possibly can with what we have and opening it up. And he's showing us bigger and bigger every single time. And now I don't have any doubt in my mind that this thing will be 10 times bigger than what Uber is right now. I mean, because the opportunity in front of us is really the majority of the opportunity. Rising tide raises all ships. Awesome. And it's rising, going up. So now we have to just walk. We got to just continue to walk in that, and we'll do great. So I'm just thankful for just being positioned here to do this. Just push through it all. And the awesome thing is you get stronger and stronger. You get stronger and stronger. And then God starts showing you more, and you get stronger and stronger. And God starts showing you more, and you get stronger and stronger. And then it's like, holy cow, that's how I got here. I didn't come out flying. Yeah, I came out very, very overconfident in the beginning, because when we started, we were just competing with Uber and Lyft. We were like, okay, well, we don't even have an app. So people were like, you don't even have an app. How are you going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to get it done. I don't know. But then it was kind of like false confidence, but it turned into real stuff with persistence and with keeping God first and persevering in faith, right? Through these obstacles, you get stronger and stronger. And then you hit a point where it's like, nobody can tell you anything. It's pretty amazing. I don't know what stage we're in right now. I know we got a plan. And Rick's helping us with the next stage with Leave Grow Now, but look, God's lining folks up. My connection with Rick came through a crisis storm, burnout, full-blown burnout. We would not be talking if I didn't go through a massive CEO burnout and almost just, completely chuck it all up. So look, put God first through all the conflict, and these people and folks start to show up. Yeah. Folks start to show up. Yeah. They come to your office. They're praying for you. This is it's nothing but God's work. And so now when I see somebody that needs something that I already do, it's going to be given if I can possibly do it. I'm going to give it away. I'm not going to ask for anything because of all this stuff that's been given to me. It's like God has shown himself worthy. He's shown himself faithful and present so many times. I know what I'm supposed to do. Every time.
Rick, I don't know if you want to try talking. Nope. Sorry. All right. Well, Diondre, we have been mightily blessed by your time with us today.
Thank you.
And again, one of these days when you've got some time, there's so many rabbits that we would love to chase down the Diondre and Wave Ride trail. And so we look forward to watching what God does through your business and your team and you and in the months and years ahead here. Suspect it won't be long before we can say, oh, we knew him way back when.
Rick's already there, man. I mean, look, we're connected. We're connected. Who knows what's going to come out? And it's going to be nothing but good, nothing but amazing things that are in store just from this encounter alone.
All right, I'm gonna stop our recording, but stay on. And let's see.
I think conflict is inevitable, and that's really where the test lies. I've just encountered many, many, many conflicts, and whether it's inside the organization, outside the organization, folks on the outside. I mean, a lot of conflict you call it doubt in the very beginning. Lots of doubt in the very beginning. We didn't see this amount of opportunity and purpose. We didn't see that in the very beginning. So conflict, I think those are the that's the real test of your faith, and how you navigate those things is ultimately a reflection of your relationship with God. I mean, my relationship, right? So that's the test. the conflict is a test. I mean, there's so many kind of feel good opportunities and things like that out there, but they're not really tests. Conflict is really what disrupts things. And generally what we've seen is that our best moves, our biggest moves come out of conflict, right? They emerge from conflict. They emerge from tension, but you got to stay rooted in doing what is right through that, and saying, you know what, this thing might crash. And, in the very beginning, we were like, hey, this thing might crash and burn, but at least we're going to do what's right. Right. And staying rooted in that, and you run through a few iterations, you're like, okay, well, the conflict management muscle is stronger now. So now it's like, these conflicts that were once appearing to be big, they come back in different forms, and you're strengthened in Christ. And you're like, okay, well, this is not even a problem. Like, I can handle more. So yeah.
How have you found ways to take conflict that could be destructive and detrimental to the organization and to people, and make that conflict redemptive and constructive for the organization and for people?
So I think just depending upon the population, it's transparency and just really strong communication. I'm thinking about kind of being blameless, right? So people are going to be people. Things are going to happen, right? Things are going to happen. But even in the midst of conflict and confusion, we are serving people. We are serving our drivers. We are serving our employees. And conflicts happen all the time. Problems happen all the time. One, getting down and dirty, and sometimes just being transparent and communicating is super valuable, right? Communicating through the conflict, communicating your stance in the conflict, and not wavering from our own faith, right? And the way this flows through the org is it just flows through in different ways. But obviously we're not slapping the Bible all over people's heads. There is a moral compass that helps us to really drive these decisions, and that we know what that moral compass is. So conflict is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's an impetus for growth, but it's also, you respond the wrong way and it can be destructive. So we're seeking guidance. I think the other way is just having like-minded folks around you that you can throw these conflict situations onto and just get some guidance on how to navigate. So having people around you that believe the same, or they think the same, and perhaps have more experience, just so you don't get blindsided with a conflict or a situation you haven't seen before. It's very important to have a group of people around you, around the org, accessible to help you navigate some of these things, because we definitely haven't seen it. We haven't seen it all, right? And I don't think anyone's seen it all. But and I think you rely on yourself. It's inevitable. Something bad's going to happen. It's inevitable. So we want to spread that. We want to do some load balancing there as it relates to conflict management, and really just slow things down sometimes. Yeah, I'm just kind of spitballing, but yeah, just thinking about all the different situations that we've seen so far. Yeah. There's it's crazy, man. This stuff is like, just from a redemptive standpoint, I think you stay rooted in that. You stay rooted in giving. You stay rooted in making impact. And I think anything that you do is going to be, as long as it's legal, it's going to be blessed. You focus on giving that which you are good at or getting better at to other people, and then, or whoever. Somebody needs what you do. And even in that, you're going to run into conflict. But you're purpose driven, so you just drive through it all.
Diondre, 100 years ago, Eric Liddell, a Scottish runner, ran in the Olympics. The movie Chariots of Fire was made about his life. He famously said, "When I run, I feel God's pleasure." When do you feel God's pleasure?
When I'm just hanging out with my wife and kids, even when I see just thank you notes and stuff like that from folks that have used the platform, and or testimonials. That of course makes you feel really good, because of how much actually goes into what we do. At the end of the day, I think it's felt when I am functioning in what the gifts that God has given me, and I'm actually doing I actually feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? At any given time, whether it's with my family or with staff or meetings or, other things that I'm involved in. I just try to keep things very, very, like, not even day type, but just almost like down to the hour. It's like, sometimes you got to just manage things within the hour. And it's like, you know what? Okay. Within this minute, I'm thankful. I'm grateful. Wasn't quite the best hour, but you know what? God's good, and I thank Him for that. We had some amazing highlights this hour, so let's make the next hour great, right? So it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of like a coping mechanism, because on the other side of this, on the tech side. And I haven't even spoken about how miraculous the technical journey has been, because this stuff is not easy, right? It's not easy at all. It's not easy at all. So understanding what he's pulling us through on a daily basis, and literally what he has done, especially in the very early days, it's just miraculous. So I'm really grateful for really the small things. I try to keep things framed that way. And, I try to make sure that I am invoking his presence as much as I can, so that I can feel that, throughout the day, and try not to get too far removed from it, right? Because I feel like it's a life source. It's a motivator, and it really has to be there. I really want to know that I'm functioning in a manner that's going to give him glory. Yeah, I mean, he's going to take care of all the rest.
It seems like you have found a path of being able to do well and do good. And obviously, you can't do good exclusively. We live in a world where we need resources, and power bill has to be paid. The groceries have to be bought. And so we have to do somewhat well in order to keep doing good. And it seems that God has built you and placed you in places where you can do both of those, and each feeds the other in an upward spiral in a beautiful way.
I think you're right. I think you definitely have to do the work. But I mean, there's so much more that we can do and that we're going to do. Like through Wave, we give away for nonprofits that are dealing with vulnerable populations, because we know, like, you have to be intentional about the give. So, and man, God just shows up when you need him. I mean, you gotta be intentional about the give, whether you have the resource or not. Usually, I mean, especially, with professionals like these guys, we are well skilled in things, and there is a way for us to change the world. There's a way for us to move the needle by just simply doing for somebody something that leverages your skills that you've acquired over all this time, right? It would take them years to get done. Give it away. Find a way to give it away with no intention of getting it back. It comes back. It just keeps coming back. And it's been part of this success story, When resources are needed, they appear. They just do. And it's happened over and over and over and over again. All kinds of different situations, small, large.
Can you give us some examples of that?
I would say very early on, in the very beginning of this, we had an issue where, I mean, honestly, we're building product. The product is built now, but when we started out, we were just doing, stuff through a call center, literally, but we're still giving rides away. We're giving rides away to these nonprofits. And so we're starting to transition into becoming more tech driven. There was a situation where, we flat out could not solve a technical problem. And it basically meant that we would never have a rideshare. It would never be done. We just couldn't fix it. Maybe we'd have to go out and find some $1 million engineer somewhere to get it done, or there had to be an answer. And we'd already committed a strong amount of resource to one particular direction. There was probably an answer in another direction, but the cost to get there would just be astronomical. So what do? We didn't do any major raising. So getting over the hurdle was a major, major technical hurdle. This is like 2020. It was nothing but God. So what happened was, we are getting ready to start doing integrations into airports, and we have some technical things that have to happen, and we couldn't, one of them, we just couldn't get it done. There's all kinds of certifications that happen with FAA and all this other stuff, technical evaluations. There's a reason why there aren't many of these rideshare companies. There's a reason, and there are actually many reasons. So anyway, we couldn't get over this hurdle at all. And literally, we had a deadline to meet, to meet this technical specification. And there was one little module in our code base that was deprecated. Deprecated meaning, it was out of support, and it was causing all kinds of errors in our system. We didn't know that that was the source of the problem. Anyway, after tons and tons of just searching, we found some random person, like I don't know where, that had built his own version of this thing, and we used it, and it freaking worked. So we were able to get past some of these certifications with a software module built by this one individual developer out of nowhere that perfectly fit. And how does this happen? I don't believe these things happen by chance. Now, in the year 2020, that probably happened 25, 30 times as we're starting to grow. Whereas on the other side, when you're super well funded, companies will just throw so much money at it and solve it. We didn't have that resource, but we're giving away rides. We're doing phone calls. Hey, you nonprofit, you need rides. So then we're doing it not to get anything back, but we're just doing it because we know these groups have problems, right? So he's a provider, and he's shown himself over and over and over again. It's pretty miraculous, and he's still doing it. Now it's happening. This is where it's happening now, which is super exciting. Social media virality. We are getting people with tens upon potentially hundreds of millions of followers to just promote us. They're just doing it. And they're not, and they can charge $150,000, $250,000 for a post. They're just not doing it because they believe in the purpose. They believe in the mission. They believe in the platform, right? They believe in how we're trying to bring a new wave of accountability and integrity, and they just do it, right? So that virality is something that I don't think we've ever seen. When you combine the social virality with scalable platform level tech that could potentially touch every human life. Not talking about Instagram where you posted pictures. You're talking about something that can actually impact. Like think about like Samaritan's feet. People still, you use your feet to walk around, but sometimes you need a car, right? How do you give to these places in the world that just need transportation? That's part of our mission. That's part of what God is showing us. But it takes resource to get there. But what it's flowing now through social media, this whole notion of virality and creating value almost instantaneously, miraculous amounts of value instantaneously through electronic transmission lines, it is unprecedented. Uber has no virality. These platforms, they're almost antiviral because every time something bad happens, it goes viral. Right. But we're just trying to do right. We're just trying to do right. And what's starting to happen is all of these entities, or like my girlfriend got hit on by an Uber driver and she had to jump out the car. These guys are different. They're not even asking me to do anything, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it for my 10 million followers or 20 million followers. That's starting to happen now. We're not asking for it. Where will this thing be in a year or two? I know where it's going. I don't know where it's going to be in a year or two, but honestly, look, man, it's going to be where it's supposed to be, which is touching every single potentially human life on this planet, because all of them need to be moved around. All of them need, and you do the math, men versus women, children, elderly. It's the numbers, the numbers are the numbers, right? You're not going to trust your kid in a car with a driver that got on the platform in 2 hours. Restaurants don't even trust their food in a car with a driver that became a DoorDash driver in an hour, right? But guess what? They're not really designed to do that. That's not their job. It's our job. And God is opening these doors up, right? So I'm super excited. We're just letting God lead the way, and he's doing his thing, and he's going to continue to do his thing and provide as long as we stay aligned. And yeah, look, man, it is a wave. It's like a tidal wave, like big flood, boom. I just think about these floods of accountability, integrity, compassion. It's coming. It's coming. People are getting it. So the tech is easy. The other stuff is hard. So I'm just excited about what's going on. I know y'all can feel the excitement. You can feel the energy. That's what that is God.
You really struggle with the vision thing, don't you, Diondre?
No, I do not. Right. I'm sitting here thinking about it and writing all this stuff down. It's all scripted. It's all scripted.
Let me ask you this. We have to build businesses and organizations with people, and we're all sinners, and even Christians, there's conflict in our old nature, and Paul and John Mark had to separate. Just curious, as you've dealt with conflict, inevitable conflict, whether it's with different partners or employees, how have you thought about that Christianly, if you will? How have you dealt with conflict? Because the people who watch this podcast, I think sometimes are struggling with, how can I be faithful in my responsibilities and yet also exhibit the fruits of the Spirit in conflict? And just curious what wisdom you would have on that.
I think conflict is inevitable, and that's really where the test lies. I've just encountered many, many, many conflicts, and whether it's inside the organization, outside the organization, a lot of conflict you call it doubt in the very beginning, lots of doubt in the very beginning. We didn't see this amount of opportunity and purpose. We didn't see that in the very beginning. So conflict, that's the real test of your faith, and how you navigate those things is ultimately a reflection of your relationship with God. I mean, my relationship, right? So that's the test. The conflict is a test. I mean, there's so many kind of feel good opportunities and things like that out there, but they're not really tests. Conflict is really what disrupts things. And generally what we've seen is that our best moves, our biggest moves come out of conflict, right? They emerge from conflict. They emerge from tension, but you got to stay rooted in doing what is right through that, and saying, you know what, this thing might crash. And, in the very beginning, we were like, hey, this thing might crash and burn, but at least we're going to do what's right. Right. And staying rooted in that, and you run through a few iterations, you're like, okay, well, the conflict management muscle is stronger now. So now it's like, these conflicts that were once appearing to be big, they come back in different forms, and you're strengthened in Christ. And you're like, okay, well, this is not even a problem. Like, I can handle more. So yeah.
How have you found ways to take conflict that could be destructive and detrimental to the organization and to people, and make that conflict redemptive and constructive for the organization and for people?
So I think just depending upon the population, it's transparency and just really strong communication. I'm thinking about kind of being blameless, right? So people are going to be people. Things are going to happen, right? Things are going to happen. But even in the midst of conflict and confusion, we are serving people, and we are serving our drivers. We are serving our employees. And conflicts happen all the time. Problems happen all the time. One, getting down and dirty, and sometimes just being transparent and communicating is super valuable, right? Communicating through the conflict, communicating your stance in the conflict, and not wavering from from our own faith, right? And the way this flows through the org is it just flows through in different ways. But obviously we're not slapping the Bible all over people's heads. There is a moral compass that helps us to really drive these decisions, and that we know what that moral compass is. So conflict is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's an impetus for growth, but it's also, you respond the wrong way and it can be destructive. So we're seeking guidance. I think the other way is just having like-minded folks around you that you can throw these conflict situations onto and just get some guidance on how to navigate. So having people around you that believe the same, or they think the same, and perhaps have more experience, just so you don't get blindsided with a conflict or a situation you haven't seen before. It's very important to have a group of people around you, around the org, accessible to help you navigate some of these things, because we definitely haven't seen it. We haven't seen it all, right? And I don't think anyone's seen it all. But and I think you rely on yourself. It's inevitable. Something bad's going to happen. It's inevitable. So we want to spread that. We want to do some load balancing there as it relates to conflict management, and really just slow things down sometimes. Yeah, I'm just kind of spitballing, but yeah, they're just thinking about all the different situations that we've seen so far. Yeah. There's it's crazy, man. This stuff is like, just from a redemptive standpoint, I think you stay rooted in that. You stay rooted in giving. You stay rooted in making impact. And I think anything that you do is going to be, as long as it's legal, it's going to be blessed. You focus on giving that which you are good at or getting better at to other people, and then, or whoever. Somebody needs what you do. And even in that, you're going to run into conflict. But you're purpose driven. So you just drive through it all. You just push through it all. And the awesome thing is you get stronger and stronger. You get stronger and stronger. And then God starts showing you more, and you get stronger and stronger, and God starts showing you more, and you get stronger and stronger. And then it's like, holy cow, that's how I got here. I didn't come out flying. Yeah, I came out very, very overconfident in the beginning, because when we started, we were just competing with Uber and Lyft. We were like, okay, well, we don't even have an app. So people were like, you don't even have an app. How are you going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to get it done. I don't know. But then it was kind of like false confidence, but it turned into real stuff with persistence and with keeping God first and persevering in faith, right? Through these obstacles, you get stronger and stronger. And then you hit a point where it's like, nobody can tell you anything. This is, it's pretty amazing. I don't know what stage we're in right now. I know we got a plan. And Rick's helping us with that, the next stage with Leave Grow Now, but look, God's lining folks up. My connection with Rick came through a crisis storm, burnout, full-blown burnout. We would not be talking if I didn't go through a massive CEO burnout and almost just, completely chuck it all up. So look, put God first through all the conflict, and these people and folks start to show up. Yeah. Folks start to show up. Yeah. They come to your office. They're praying for you. Like this is it's nothing but God's work. And so now when I see somebody that needs something that I already do, it's going to be given if I can possibly do it. I'm going to give it away. I'm not going to ask for anything because of all this stuff that's been given to me. It's like God has shown himself worthy. He's shown himself faithful and present so many times. I know what I'm supposed to do. Every time.
Diondre, we have been mightily blessed by your time with us today.
Thank you.
There's so many rabbits that we would love to chase down the Diondre and Wave Ride trail. And so we look forward to watching what God does through your business and your team. Suspect it won't be long before we can say, oh, we knew him way back when.
Well, Rick is there. Rick's already there, man. I mean, look, we're connected. We're connected. So who knows what's going to come out? And it's going to be nothing but good, nothing but amazing things that are in store just from this encounter alone. Going to happen.
Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to click the like button on your app. You can find more episodes like this at our website, whenloveleads.com. While there, you can also sign up for our newsletter, where we explore many of these topics deeper, and be the first to hear about upcoming podcast topics and guests. You can help more people find out about the podcast by liking us on social media pages like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Finally, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Until next time, remember the difference it makes when love leads.